Mother Teresa said, "We're to love until there is pain. We're to love through the pain until all that remains is love." Joseph's journey, it began with betrayal. In fact, it was betrayal that set everything into motion. And it was this part of his life that points to the Messiah and teaches us about the significance of forgiveness. Our love for God is really demonstrated by how we treat other people. Forgiveness is one of the keys to demonstrating this love. But we're not just called to forgive, we're called to love our enemies, and we're called to bless and to care for even those who hurt us badly. And this is what Joseph and ultimately Messiah demonstrate and point the way towards. We have a choice. When we go through difficult things in life, we either become bitter or we become better. And what we have to understand is that the power of choice is the power of change. Our choices change us. They change us for the better or they change us for the worse. And Joseph, even when he was stripped of everything and thrown into the pit and put into the prison, made a choice to forgive. He never took revenge on his brothers. We don't even see him speaking an unkind or harsh word towards them. But this forgiveness is demonstrated in kind of an unlikely place. We see it in what he names his children. His firstborn was Manasseh. His secondborn was Ephraim. Manasseh means, "I have forgotten the pain of my past." Ephraim means double fruitfulness. What does it teach us? It teaches us that there is no fruitfulness without forgiveness. Because when we don't forgive, it bitters the fruit all the way to the root. That's why if we want to see the fullness of God's fruitfulness in our life, we have to be willing to forgive just like Joseph did. What's amazing here is that at the end of Jacob's life, that's Joseph's father, he calls Joseph and his two sons and he blesses them. And this is what the blessing says. He says, "Israel will bless like this. May God make you like Ephraim and Manasseh." What a powerful legacy. Even to this day, thousands of years later, every Friday night at the Shabbat meal in our homes, we bless our sons with this blessing, whose names mean, "I have forgotten the pain of my past," and double fruitfulness. It points to the importance of forgiveness even to this day. What a powerful legacy that Joseph left, and how important it is for us to understand this for our family and our relationships even to this day.
We love a good underdog story. So it's nice to imagine that Joseph was born into nothing, only to claw his way out of horrible circumstances with his own strength and iron will. That version of the story sounds kind of like a comic book, and it's not hard to read it that way. After all, Joseph went from slavery to leading all of Egypt. That sounds pretty heroic, right? The truth is, Joseph was an underdog, but it's important to understand how he became one. Joseph's life didn't start at the very bottom. Before his divine calling, Joseph had a life plotted out for him. He probably expected to live life as a shepherd. That would make sense. It was the family trade, and his family did well. Joseph didn't need the power of an entire civilization behind him to put food on the table and live a comfortable lifestyle. Joseph's people had resources. Abraham and Isaac even had real wealth. Among his family members, Joseph was poised to be a leader. He was given a tunic by his father, that colorful coat you may have heard of. That wasn't just a fashion statement. It was an emblem of authority and favor from his father. Joseph was loved like a firstborn and was set up to inherit what a firstborn would have. He had a future. The pain and torment that Joseph was subjected to is without a doubt horrific. Slavery, betrayal, and prison. Looking at his life from the outside, there were many points where Joseph's life was a far cry from his upbringing. Back home he might have had comfort, safety, and inheritance, and every last bit of it was torn away from him. If you were to look at the circumstances of Joseph's life, you wouldn't see an ascending graph, charting out a perfect journey to the top. You would see a rocky, jutting arch of pain and horrible circumstances. The Hollywood story of a guy who started from the bottom and clawed his way to the top doesn't fit that arch. Life doesn't fit that arch. Joseph weathered the storms that came his way and never lost sight of the purpose. He didn't excel in every challenge. He was a shepherd's kid after all, not a hardened hero. It was the posture he had during the process that makes him unique. Joseph's home was a place of the expected, a life figured out, certainty. The path God called him to didn't contain much certainty, but it resulted in greatness.